3 o'clock in the office. The monitor's glow shines on your face while your stomach growls and the clock's hands drag on. You open the snack drawer, eye the whole grain cracker package, hesitate, and the memory of that last endocrinologist appointment pulls you back. It's not the carbohydrate itself, but how it enters your bloodstream, he had said. The phrase echoes as the glucometer in your pocket vibrates, reminding you that numbers have no patience for long meetings. Still, you need fuel. Your brain loves glucose. So, what's the way out between the clenching hunger and the daunting glycemic curve? The answer begins long before the first fork, back in the cornfields of Illinois or the rice paddies of California, where each grain already carries a biochemical blueprint. Within it, chains of glucose cluster into two architectures: amylopectin, branching like a Christmas tree, and amylose, linear like a freight train. The structure determines the digestion pace. Amylopectin presents itself to enzymes like fast food, releasing glucose in minutes. Amylose demands patience, releasing energy in homeopathic doses. Between these extremes lies a whole repertoire that the food industry and your cooking can reshape. Think of the potato you love as a loaded baked potato with sour cream. Boiled and served steaming hot, it's a rocket of amylopectin. Cool that same potato, let it sit overnight in the fridge, and then quickly reheat it in the microwave. Part of that starch has reorganized into resistant crystals that bypass the small intestine and head straight to the colon, where they feed bacteria that produce butyrate, a postbiotic that improves insulin sensitivity. A simple temperature change has transformed a villain into an ally, and you didn't even have to give up the flavor reminiscent of Sunday barbecues. But the kitchen isn't an isolated lab. The rest of the plate interferes with the plot. Proteins, slow gastric emptying. Soluble fibers turn to gel and delay enzyme action. Good fats form a mesh that hinders glucose passage. This is especially useful in the American scenario, where rushed lunches and fast casual lines can turn into calorie bombs. Swap out sweet soda for sparkling water with lemon. Add guacamole rich in monounsaturated fats, and suddenly that burrito bowl transforms from threat to balanced meal. Science confirms. A meta-analysis from the American Diabetes Association showed that meals combined with at least 14 grams of fiber reduce the glycemic peak by up to 30%, even when the total carbohydrate content remains constant. Deep down, we are orchestrating timing. Too much glucose at once forces the pancreas to release insulin like a fire alarm. Paused glucose allows the hormone to work at the pace of a night watchman. The secret to mastering carbs lies in 3 T's: type, technique, and timing. Type is the choice of grain. Basmati rice has a lower glycemic index than jasmine rice. Technique is what you do with it: coconut oil trick, cooling, and reheating. Timing is the sequence on the plate. Starting a meal with fibrous salad reduces postprandial blood sugar by 20%, according to a Cornell study. The next step is to get your body moving. 10 minutes of light walking after lunch converts circulating glucose into muscle glycogen without requiring athlete-level breath. In practice, it's like blowing out a candle before it turns into a fire. Now let's talk about the less visible part: the internal dialogue. High numbers often come with guilt, fear, and the question, why me? These thoughts elevate cortisol, which in turn releases extra glucose from the liver, a biochemical irony. Here, Stoicism offers a mental lever, separating what's under your control, portion size, preparation, physical activity, from what isn't, occasional spikes, genetics. Accepting data as a compass, not a sentence, neutralizes the hormonal stress cascade. Take a deep breath. Observe. Note down. Each record becomes a navigation map. Yesterday, cold rice worked. Today, whole grain pasta failed. Adjust the course without drama. All this fits into daily life, from Detroit to Dallas. Supermarkets now sell frozen ready-made rice that has undergone gelatinization and industrial cooling. Just heat it up. Coffee chains offer fiber and protein-rich spinach wraps. Swap out the sweet dressing for hummus, and you adjust the macronutrient without sacrificing flavor. Even the classic mac and cheese of childhood dinners can gain shredded chicken breast and frozen peas, doubling the protein and adding fiber to each spoonful. You may wonder if you need expensive apps, exotic supplements, or zero net carb breads that cost twice as much. The answer is that the basics, temperature, texture, combination, cost pennies and offer daily returns. Imagine your next breakfast: overnight oats made with coarse oats, unsweetened almond milk, fresh blueberries, and a pinch of cinnamon, a spice that Cleveland Clinic studies associate with a small improvement in insulin sensitivity. Let the oats hydrate overnight. Digestion will be slower, satiety longer, and the glycemic curve a gentle hill instead of a roller coaster. When the glucometer alarm goes off at noon, the reading will be so stable that you'll almost doubt it. That almost is the clue that you've mastered the game. If any tip here resonated, keep it close, just like one keeps a glass of water on the table to drink without thinking. And if you know someone who's fought the same silent battle against blinking red numbers, sharing is worth more than any statistic. Social support reduces perceived stress levels by up to 15%, which translates to better blood sugar control. Each small adjustment, when added up, becomes a wall between you and the complications of diabetes. And nothing prevents that wall from being built brick by brick, meal by meal, with joy at the table and peace of mind. Ultimately, mastering carbohydrates is like tuning an instrument. You turn the peg millimeter by millimeter until the string stops shrieking. From now on, let's tweak those invisible screws that lie outside the plate but impact every bite. Let's start with what you drink. A sip of lemon water, taken between the kitchen counter and the dining table, slows gastric emptying and allows glucose to trickle into the bloodstream. If you want something stronger, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar mixed in a glass of cold water serves the same function. Plus, it offers that refreshing feeling on a Texas summer afternoon. It's not folklore. Studies from Arizona State University show drops of up to 15% in glycemic response when acetic acid is present before a starchy meal. However, it's worth remembering that not every tangy drink serves the purpose. Diet sodas may contain no sugar, but they often have sweeteners that disrupt your gut-brain axis, opening the appetite at odd times. Better to swap the zero soda for unsweetened cold green tea, boosted with a few mint leaves. The tea delivers catechins, antioxidants linked to improved insulin sensitivity, and satisfies the craving for something with flavor. For wine lovers, 2 ounces, not a big glass at the end of the workday, of dry red at dinner adds polyphenols that aid in glucose metabolism. It's the classic tiny glass of the staff at a New York restaurant. Elegant, moderate, effective. With drinks sorted, let's move on to the aromatic heart of the kitchen. Spices. Cloves, traditionally found in North American pumpkin pies, contain eugenol, which in laboratory tests facilitated the entrance of glucose into cells without requiring heroic doses of insulin. A pinch of ground cloves in overnight oats, coarse oats, soaked in almond milk and left in the fridge overnight, adds a Christmas scent and a metabolic boost. Ceylon cinnamon makes the perfect duo. Half a teaspoon a day has been linked to discrete but consistent reductions in fasting blood sugar in reviews from Johns Hopkins. It doesn't have to become a TikTok challenge. Just sprinkle it on the frozen banana that goes into the smoothie or on the foam of your espresso at home. Speaking of coffee, it deserves special mention. Pure caffeine can cause a slight transient rise in glucose because it stimulates adrenaline release. However, when consumed alongside the natural fat in whole milk or the puck of clarified butter, some add to what's called bulletproof coffee. The spike eases. The trick is simple. If work demands coffee at 2 in the afternoon, pair it with a handful of nuts or half a slice of Gouda cheese. The fat slows the absorption of carbohydrates from the snack that follows, preventing the up and down that leads to that drowsiness during a Zoom meeting. Now, back to the pot for a fine-tuning of grain preparation. You've learned to cook, cool, and reheat. What's left is to talk about thermal shock. Brown rice, after cooking, can be spread out on a wide baking sheet and placed in the freezer for 5 minutes before going into the fridge. The shock creates even denser resistant starch crystals, maximizing the effect that lowers the glycemic index. When reheating, use low heat or a microwave at 50% power. Gentle heating keeps the new structure intact. The same goes for pasta made on Sunday and stored in a glass jar. Those classic meal preps that saved half the East Coast during the pandemic. And what about legumes? Chickpeas, black beans, lentils. They come preloaded with more amylose than most grains, but you can make them even better. After cooking in the electric pressure cooker, drain, dry, and quickly roast them in the oven with olive oil, paprika, and sea salt. They form a crust, turning into a crunchy snack to replace packaged chips. And the starch retrogrades, gaining resistance. A math teacher in Columbus swore he wouldn't give up Doritos. After adopting roasted chickpeas, he not only lost the craving for fried snacks, but also dropped 3 points on his hemoglobin A1C in 6 months. The numbers don't lie. The next step to keeping the curve flat is strategic and cheap. Order of consumption. Starting the meal with fibers, a baby spinach salad with a simple vinaigrette, creates a viscous barrier that slows glucose entry. Next come proteins, roasted turkey breast, salmon fillet, or smoked tofu. Only then do carbohydrates come on stage, already escorted. A Weill Cornell medicine study found reductions of nearly 30% in the glycemic peak when people reverse the order of macronutrients, eating bread last instead of first. It seems like a detail, but it changes the game. And don't underestimate active rest. Right after dinner, 10 to 15 minutes of light activity, tidying up the kitchen, taking the dog to the yard, going up and down 2 flights of stairs, already recruits GLUT4, the transporter that pulls glucose into muscle without requiring much insulin. Think of it as a rinse. All glucose in circulation is dirty water leaving before it builds up. A delivery driver in Phoenix reports that she adopted the habit of walking around the block of her warehouse while recording routes for the next day. In 3 weeks, her post-meal readings dropped from 190 to 140. Of course, the plan doesn't always work. There are nights with large pizzas watching baseball games, surprise birthday parties at work, donuts at strategy meetings. At those times, the tactic is to limit damage. 2 slices instead of 4, soda swapped out for lemon ginger seltzer, brisk walking to the car. Then, return to the axis without drama. This is resilience, not perfectionism. And resilience requires a clear head. A quick diary entry in your phone's notes with the question, "What did I learn from this meal?" turns a stumble into a metric. If the answer is lack of protein at breakfast, then pancake made from egg whites is already programmed for the next day. This cycle of observation and adjustment resembles a mechanic's workshop where the car comes back every 10,000 miles. Oil is changed, tires are calibrated, alignment is corrected. Your body is the primary vehicle of the journey, and the workshop is your kitchen, your pantry, your 50 steps after dinner. Each adjustment seems tiny in isolation, but together they form a smooth road to where diabetes complications rarely reach. If any gear described here sounded useful, take note to test it in the next 48 hours. The mind remembers better what turns into quick action. And if it works out, share with someone who needs it. Sharing knowledge creates a support network as stable as any well-dosed medication. The display from the sensor remains attached to your arm, even after you turn off the bedroom lights. The soft glow seems to say, the night shift has begun. It's in this silence that many readings spike, not because you ate something forbidden, but because your body operates on an internal tide. Dawn hormones, micro-awakenings, that piece of dream that triggers adrenaline. Instead of fearing a high number at 5 a.m., plant barriers before resting your head on the pillow. Start with a nighttime snack. Replace cream cookies with a mix of unsweetened Greek yogurt, chopped nuts, and a teaspoon of hydrated chia seeds. The yogurt's protein prolongs digestion. The healthy fat from nuts delays absorption. The chia turns into gel that encapsulates glucose. This combination keeps blood sugar stable during sleep and releases tryptophan, a precursor to serotonin, helping you drift into the arms of Morpheus without the need for pills. Sleeping may seem passive, but it's a cellular marathon. The liver cleans up, the brain archives memories, the pancreas recalibrates insulin sensitivity. That's why 7 hours of consistent sleep usually translate into better morning readings than any detox tea. If your mind doesn't shut off, try a 5-minute ritual inspired by Stoicism. Sit up in bed, Inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 6, and mentally repeat the phrase, I accept what's beyond my reach. I improve what I can touch. This small practice reduces cortisol, lowers heart rate, and prepares the biochemical ground for a peaceful night's fast. Upon waking, the first decision is more important than the coffee itself. Getting up right away, opening the curtains, and letting natural light flood the room signals your biological clock that the day has begun. This brightness suppresses residual melatonin and helps align cortisol peaks at the correct time, preventing the hormone from rising at inappropriate moments and pushing extra glucose into the bloodstream. 5 minutes of light stretching complete the equation. Arms over your head, shoulder rotations, trunk bends. These movements wake up the major muscle groups and activate glucose transporters even before the first bite. Now let's talk about breakfast. In the United States, the rush leads many people to drive-thrus for donuts or softball-sized muffins. But there's a 5-minute ready alternative: egg white omelet with baby spinach, sprinkled with cayenne pepper, and served with a slice of germinated grain toast that spent the night in the freezer. The cooling retrograded some of the starch. A drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, the insoluble fiber from the bread, and lean protein create a tripod of satiety that keeps the glycemic curve steady until lunchtime. And if black coffee offends your palate, sweeten it with a few drops of vanilla extract. No sugar, bakery aroma, and no spikes. Between meetings, blood sugar might fluctuate due to stress and excess caffeine. Carrying a water bottle with 2 cucumber slices and mint provides hydration, a slight refreshing effect, and prevents thirst from being confused with hunger. Each sip spreads electrolytes that assist in nerve conduction, keeping the brain alert without needing more coffee. When afternoon arrives and your body complains, swap out protein bars full of polyols for a handful of pumpkin seeds sprinkled with smoked paprika. Rich in magnesium, the seeds help relax blood vessels and contribute to a less erratic glycemic profile. Soon it's dinner, a critical moment because the desire to unwind competes with discipline. Practical solution: sheet pan dinner. Line a baking sheet with parchment paper, spread cubes of butternut squash, broccoli florets, and strips of chicken breast seasoned with rosemary and garlic. 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit yield a colorful, fragrant meal, rich in beta-glucans and lean protein. While the oven works, set the table. Prepare a glass of water with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a few ice cubes. Sip slowly as if it were a cocktail. This simple gesture reduces the rush of eating and already seasons the digestive tract with acetic acid. Finished serving? Place the baking dish in the center and invite everyone to serve themselves, starting with the vegetables. The social ritual enforces a calm pace, increasing the perception of fullness before arriving at the chicken pieces and the sweet cubes of squash. After dealing with the dishes, no immediate sofa time. Dance to 2 lively songs with the kids, take short laps around the block, or organize the backpack for the next day while moving around the house. 15 minutes of light activity lowers postprandial blood sugar by up to 40 points in insulin-resistant individuals. It works because active muscles demand glucose to regenerate ATP. The pancreas rests, you gain energy, and you accumulate steps toward the daily goal without needing a noisy treadmill. Now we come to monitoring. Many feel hostage to absolute numbers, but variation matters just as much as the number itself. A perfect day is not a straight line, but a short wave with small amplitude. Use free apps that generate graph after graph. Observe patterns, not isolated spikes. If you notice readings rising every Tuesday at lunchtime, review that day's menu. Perhaps the canned soup has more modified starch than you realize. Information becomes a compass. There's no guesswork, just adjustment. Medication also deserves respect without obsession. Metformin, for instance, works better when taken at regular times, away from heavy alcohol consumption. If the doctor prescribed basal insulin, checking storage temperature is a money-saving measure. Vials exposed to summer heat in Florida lose potency in days, leading to uncontrolled readings that may seem like the dinner's fault. Instead of increasing the dose, ensure proper cooling. Simple solution, immediate results. And there's the financial dimension, a central part for many households. Buying whole foods in 5-pound bags or at discount clubs reduces the cost per meal to just a few cents. Cooking grains in large batches on Sunday and freezing portions prevents waste and delivers the resistant starch advantage all at once. Growing herbs in pots on the windowsill, basil, sage, chives, cuts the cost of store-bought seasonings rich in hidden sugar and enhances the flavor of simple dishes. These little savings remind us that health and budget go hand in hand. Relieving financial pressure lowers stress, and a less anxious mind makes better food choices. On the emotional front, record victories. Picture a grandmother in Minneapolis who used to see continuous spikes above 200 after any pasta dish. She adopted the cooling technique, invested in whole wheat spaghetti, halved her portions, and added turkey meatballs. 3 months later, her post-dinner readings dropped to 140, and more importantly, she returned to dinner with family without fear. That feeling of belonging is as therapeutic as any carb counting. When stumbles happen, a surprise party with triple chocolate cake, a flu season that derails walking routines, remember that perseverance doesn't mean an upward line. It means returning to axis whenever possible. Stoic philosophy teaches to cultivate an internal compass pointing back toward practice, not guilt. Observe, breathe, correct. The goal isn't clinical perfection, but enough stability to free up mental energy for larger projects. Learning guitar, planning a road trip down Route 66, volunteering at the local library. And if you feel that progress happens in slow motion, compare quarterly results, not daily ones. Hemoglobin A1C is like a weighted average of your choices. Drop 1 point in 6 months and the risk of complications plummets. Each cooled starch, each sip of vinegar, each stroll around the park adds a fraction of a point. This compounded effect is discreet in the mirror, but monumental in the medical chart. Perhaps today you still see the sensor as an executioner, the counting chart as a prison. Give the new lifestyle time. In a few weeks, the reading that once caused tachycardia becomes just a technical datum, like tire pressure on your car's dashboard. No one panics over calibrating tires. It's part of driving. The same applies to monitoring blood sugar. If any passage from this discussion sparked a light bulb, keep the flame alive. Try a change at the next meal and observe how your body responds. Your experience could inspire another viewer lost in the same doubts, so it's worth leaving a quick comment about the adjustment you plan to try. And of course, if you want more practical ideas that fit into the hustle of modern life, tap the subscribe button. This way, the algorithm will notify you when new content arrives without you needing to remember. In the meantime, choose to sleep early, walk a bit more, season with intelligence, and treat each number as a signal for navigation, never as a prison. Balance is a daily art, and you've just unlocked another set of paintbrushes and colors to draw on this canvas.